Have you ever felt like you're too loyal to let go? The kind of person who answers the phone at 3 a.m, gives endless chances and struggles to stop caring about people even when they've hurt you.
If that's you, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Too Much Apparently, a podcast for deep feeling, overthinking, emotionally overloaded humans who've been told they're too much, apparently.
We're Alice and Carly, two deep feeling therapists figuring out how to live in a world that often feels like a lot.
This isn't therapy or advice, just honest, messy human conversations about life, healing, and our own brains. And if you want more of the conversation, we're building a little community over on Substack with journal prompts, community chats, live event updates, and fellow muchlings to connect with. Just search Too Much Apparently on Substack.
So let's get into it.
So I feel like you're going to have to get into this one because this isn't something I massively relate to.
Yeah, well, it's got me thinking about that word loyalty and how being loyal is seen as a really positive trait, that it's a good thing. I don't know, are people told you're too loyal, you are?
Not one I've ever heard. No, maybe not in those words, but maybe when people outside of that friendship dynamic are hearing something that's not going so healthily, maybe questioning it in that way. But yeah, not in that way. Too loyal. That's not what I've heard.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's ultimately then what we're talking about. Where loyalty to someone, whether that's a friendship, a family member, a relationship, that being, we like to deconstruct too, don't we? But being too loyal can end up actually leading us to being quite, well, harmful dynamics, but also maybe not harmful, but as you said before, but maybe unhealthy, or relationships that aren't always good for us.
Yeah. It just made me think about, like, what do we mean when we say loyal, or what comes to mind? And I think part of the reason why I don't relate to this so much is because the word loyal makes me think of obligation and doing things out of duty, even if they don't feel good. And that just doesn't fit for me. That I would rather, I'm an introvert, I'm happy to be a bit of a loner, to be honest. And so I'm more likely to, it's not about not being loyal. And I think it's actually rooted in not feeling important to people. So I just think people won't miss me if I'm not around. But yeah, there's something uncomfortable about the word loyal for me. It makes me a bit nervous. It makes me feel like I have to stay in environments that aren't good for me because it's the air quotes right thing to do. But I know for you, it's a very different thing. And I know you approach friendship very differently to me anyway, which has been a really nice thing for me to experience and a really interesting thing for us to navigate, I think.
Well, maybe that's what we should first highlight then, our differences when it comes to friendship. So how would you describe, firstly, what has traditionally been your approach, whether intentional or not? Yeah, let's talk about those differences.
So my early friendships, I think, have always been quite intense. So when I was very little, there were two girls that lived next door to me and my sister. And we would be, we'd just spend a lot of time together. We were similar ages. So we kind of grew up with each other. But then when we went to primary school, we went to different schools. So there was a bit of that kind of rival school thing, which feels a bit ridiculous given that it was primary school and we were 5. But it did feel like that was there. And then at primary school, I met my best friend and we were super close. But we had this dynamic where we'd be super close and then we'd fall out, and we'd fall out for months. Like we wouldn't speak for months at a time. And then we'd come back together and we just kind of repeated that pattern. And then when I was about 14, I think, no, I must have been 15. When I was 15, I met a boy, and that was my whole world. And really my life since then has kind of been moving from romantic relationship to romantic relationship to romantic relationship, rather than investing time in friendships. And I think partly because I just found friendships so difficult to understand and maybe felt too risky. And like I said before, I spent a long time believing that people aren't that interested in me, that people just tolerate me instead of actually wanting to spend time with me. So it's been quite easy for me to distance myself from people because I think that they won't care. And it never occurred to me that that would hurt people because I just didn't think that I mattered to people. Yeah. So how about you?
Yeah.
I know your experiences are very different because you've spoken about it, but yeah, what
Well,
was it? What's it been like for you?
well, just on what you said there, you were talking about largely going from romantic relationship to romantic relationship and how people can find themselves doing that and then them being quite intense, especially where that person becomes, your whole world. But you described your early friendship experience as someone who was there and then not there in very extreme ways of I'm here and it's intense and I'm here and gone for months as well.
Yeah, and actually, as I'm actually sat here now thinking, oh my gosh, I had a whole nother friendship group that I haven't even mentioned. Again, I think because I just blot it out of my mind. Where, so in my job before I became a therapist, I became really good friends with two other women. And again, we were really close. We went on nights out together. We were bridesmaids for one of them. We flew out to Italy to be bridesmaids for her. Um, and I don't even really remember what happened now, but again, just kind of fell apart. Yeah, and then drifted apart. Don't even really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
Feels a bit sad, um but I absolutely have to hold my hands up and own that a significant part in all of this is me not it's not that I didn't value the friendships. I guess it's that difference between, like, I valued them as feelings inside of me, but my behavior didn't reflect that. And I think that's about being vulnerable in relationships. And yeah, I simply didn't believe that people cared about me. So I
Mm.
acted in ways, and then that reinforced that
Hmm.
completely unconsciously. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my experience then was the opposite, where you were more drawn away from friendships. I was drawn to friendships.
Mm.
I think growing up watching a lot of shows with friendships at their core and best friends at their core, it felt like that was something that I needed to achieve. That I needed to have that. Not just friends, but I needed the best friends who
Mm.
did everything together, knew one another's secrets, knew all about their life, wanted to spend all the time together inside school, outside school. So I spent a lot of time focusing on trying to cultivate friendships and wanting the intensity that you see in friendships on TV.
Mm.
But because of that desperate need to have that, that then made me incredibly loyal to said people and friendships
Mm.
in order to have that and have those types of friendships. So it meant that I always needed to be on it. I always needed to be there for them. I could never disappoint them. I could never let them down. I could never make them mad at me, never make them upset with me. So I had to just be emotionally available and on it at all times
Mm.
to keep and have these relationships, these friendships. And of course, over many years, it's difficult then when other people don't have the same ideas as friendship as you. It kind of would have been an absolute nightmare if you and I would have met when we were younger, because it probably would have triggered both of each other's stuff.
Well, it's kind of interesting that we're talking about it. And part of me is like, oh, maybe we should have talked about our friendship before we did this episode, but maybe it will just be a bit of live processing on the episode because this has been, it has been a significant thing for me. I think
Mm,
it wasn't in the beginning because, again, this is, unconsciously, like consciously, I wanted to be friends and like wanted to be best friends and and then you had other friends and I'm like, oh my god, she's got other friends, like I'm not her one friend, which is my model, is it's having one friend.
sure, yeah.
um so I was kind of like, oh like, what do I even do with that? And yeah, I think as our friendship has gone on, I've just been confronted with what that means for me. And I kind of actually wonder if the podcast has held our friendship together over this last year because I went through like such a difficult time, kind of autumn and winter. That is prime time for me to just pull away and just
Mm.
disappear and just probably get quite flaky, cancel a lot. Yeah, be quite confusing in my behavior. Again, none of it conscious. It's not like I'd be sat there like, oh, how do I shake her off? It would just be, I think it would be more like an increase in social anxiety, and I would just need to withdraw and withdraw and withdraw.
Sorry, I'm just laughing now about that scene in Wedding Crashers where she says something like, "If you try to leave me, I will find you," which
That
sounds
is
super
kind of
creepy.
how
But
you've been. I'm
hey, what?
joking, I'm joking, I'm joking. I'm joking. Well, I am joking and I'm not, in that
Mm,
I guess you've made it clear how invested you are in our friendship and that I matter to you.
hmm.
And also, you've spoken about how you've been impacted in friendships in the past, and, that you are the one that instigates things a lot of the time. And I know that I'm not someone who instigates things. And so I guess I've wanted to give you a different experience. I don't think I've been particularly successful at that, but I haven't retreated in the ways that I would have in previous relationships. And yeah, I'm thinking back to the conversation that we had when we went out for my birthday, and that felt like a really significant thing. And we were talking a bit about how friendship is not, historically has not been important to me. But yeah, I went away from that conversation feeling like, I hope she knows that this is important to me,
Yeah.
that I
So just
want
for
to do this
anyone
differently.
listening, I think I'd commented on that you felt there but not there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I was kind of there, but not there, because I was going
Mm.
through so much. But again, because I don't utilize friendships in that way, I wasn't talking about what was going on.
Yeah.
Um, so all you got was a sense that, yeah, I was there, but also not there. I think that was a real turning point for our friendship, certainly for me, because it felt like, yeah, for the first time, and maybe it wasn't the first time. I don't know if my old friends listen to this. I don't want them to feel dismissed by anything I'm saying, but it felt like for the first time, someone was willing to say, "I can see you disappearing, and I would like you to come back." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came back.
Feel a bit emotional now. I can feel myself getting a bit misty
Ah,
eyed. Ah.
oh, sending you love. That's because I'll find you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think historically, I think I engage with it now in a different way.
Mm.
So I want to not lose you as a friend because it's a healthy friendship. It's one of the healthiest friendships actually
Mm.
that I have been in, because even though you said you try to do some things or don't do it successfully, there's so many things that you do and provide in our friendship that is missing in others,
Mm.
that is so lovely and nice that I value it so much. And that's why I'm not holding on out of loyalty or because
Mm.
I am desperate for people to be my best friend. It's because I found something good. I've got to keep it. Whereas in the past, it was someone likes me enough to hang around with me. I
Mm.
need to keep that. Didn't matter what they brought to the table or how
Yeah.
they really treated me or how important that I felt. It was just, oh, you like me. So I now have to, you can't go. I need to keep you,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. So
very
that
different.
that feels very much like how I've approached romantic relationships in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, an example of loyalty. And there's going to be so many other things wrapped up in this. We're talking about potentially having low self-esteem, low confidence, people pleasing behaviors, fawning behaviors, just trying to appease those around you, struggling with boundaries, tolerating a lot. I think a lot of different things will be at play for someone who remains super loyal and super available and super helpful to everybody. I keep feeling just super because that's just how it feels. But yeah, one of the best examples I have of this is, so when I transitioned from primary school to secondary school, which is a big deal for a lot of people, but I didn't transition with people that I would have classed as my best friends, but I did transition with a couple of people who were friends, but most people from my primary school went to a different primary school. So I started secondary school with two other girls in my form who I knew from primary school. And I now also realize with hindsight that my autistic self would have played a big part in this. But I just clung to the two people that I knew rather than making new friends. And it kind of meant that for the first 3 years, leading nearly to 4 years, but between years 9 and 10, I stayed friends with them for all that time. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate we can often look back with a negativity bias. There were good times and we did do nice things together, and I was treated well in some of those interactions. But also, there was lots of times when I really wasn't treated very well. And there will be things within that that I also did, just to not paint me out to be an innocent person. However, there were many things that happened. It kind of, in hindsight, was like they were best friends and I ungrounded them as a third person. So it was a classic thing of whenever you have to pair up for anything, they were always together. I was always left out, whether that's PE, sports, sitting on tables, sitting on buses on school trips. I was always the one left out. It meant that because then sometimes maybe they were sat together, they would leave the classroom to walk to the next class. I might have been on the opposite side of the classroom and they wouldn't wait for me. They'd just walk off. So I'd be there like trying to dodge around everyone just to catch up, just to walk with my friends. And they also started and spread rumors about me, for example, things that I thought were shared in confidence. And some of the things that they shared led to teasing that followed me all throughout till year 11, where it would still go on. But despite this, it took me nearly 4 years to leave that friendship.
Mm.
And so there's something in this for me and potentially for other people. And it comes up quite a lot for autistic people is that we can often stay in unhealthy or harmful dynamics, friendships, relationships for too long. There are many people that might stick around in a not good dynamic, but eventually someone would be like, do you know what? I've had enough of this. And they're just going to make new friends.
Mm.
But it was my inability to do that. And also my ability to want to still, rather than just accepting this isn't how it is, I'm going to go find new friends. It was just continual. If I'm loyal enough, if I'm helpful enough, if I'm good enough, then maybe I'll be really integrated.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah.
was, I'll just keep trying. I'll still keep trying to be the best friend ever, even though they always weren't. And I stayed far too long, which then really impacted me in loads of different ways
Mm.
until I eventually did leave.
Mm.
Yeah, and made new friends and made really good friends, actually. I
Mm.
made quite a lot of friends. It's difficult looking back to just thinking it's easy to berate a past self to be like, why didn't you just do that sooner? Why did it take you nearly 4 years to leave? And yet I've repeated similar patterns since then, even as an adult,
Mm.
not to the same extent, but I have been in friendships and relationships where there's just a pattern in my life of staying too long.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to catch the question there because I think it is so easy to, to say things like that. Like, why did I? And whenever a client says anything like that, or anyone in my life actually says anything like that, I always ask them to reframe it in a different tone, in a curious tone of like, why? Like, how come? How come, what was it about that situation that meant that I stayed so long? Or what was it about me or, that meant that it was that way, that it's carrying on this way if it's, if it's continuing. But yeah, it is so easy to blame. And I guess the reality is it's complex, isn't it? The reasons that we stay, the reasons that we are in friendships, the reasons that you are your way in friendships and the reasons that I am my way in friendships. There's going to be so many different kind of things behind that. And
Mm.
essentially, we are wired for connection.
Yes. Yeah. And I think sometimes when you really want that connection, but you really want meaningful connection.
Mm.
And even though we've had different approaches, it's interesting how we both kind of come down to the same thing.
Mm.
You not feeling important. So you wouldn't even imagine why somebody would be bothered that you
Mm,
drop out of the friendship.
yeah.
And for me, it's I'm not important. So I need to do everything in my power to make you see that I'm important.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were kind of just in acceptance, like, well, I'm just not important. Whereas I was like, no, you will find me important. I will matter to you.
Yeah, and I think it is that I shifted it into romantic relationships as well because yeah, there was a lot of energy in that in romantic relationships. Even if it was like this relationship is going nowhere, or yeah, I would cling so tightly. There's that rejection piece there again, isn't there? Of like, it's just so painful, the things that we do to avoid that intensely painful experience. Of course, they're not going to look very rational on the surface.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your experience of clinging, holding on.
Oh gosh, where do I even start? Yeah, I guess just like a rationalizing of why people were doing certain things, explaining away certain things, like pestering them for explanations of why they'd done things, and then believing things that clearly didn't add up. Yeah, but then a lot of, like we talked on another episode about testing behaviors. There'd be a lot of that, like hoping that they would prove that I was important to them. But again, like you said on that episode, we set people up to fail. And so that never worked. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it feels difficult to like put my finger on and explain it clearly because I think so much of it was unconscious,
Hmm.
is unconsciously choosing partners who were not going to pay me the kind of attention that I was used to. Like, even just then, so a moment ago when we were talking about our friendship, part of me was like, this is so lovely. Like, I'm just going to cry with happiness. Like, this feels so good. Another part of me was like, this is too much. Like, make it stop. It's too much.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, which again still taps into an old piece of like, are you sure? Like, you were saying about what I offer you in friendships that you don't get in other relationships. And I'm just kind of like, well, yeah, but what though? I don't know. So yeah, if somebody emotionally healthy had come along, I would have rejected it because it just would have felt wrong. What felt safe to me was what felt familiar. And what was familiar is people being emotionally unavailable and me trying to prove that I can be the special one that can change it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, firstly, how often as young girls are we sold that in films that you're the
Right.
one that gets him to change because there's
Yeah.
something super special about you.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, I've been fed that line many times through a film.
All you've got to do is perm your hair, put on skinny leather outfit.
Yeah, if we're talking Greece, all you've got to do is change entirely who you are, and then you
Yeah.
can have the guy.
Yeah.
What? But as you were talking, I really heard that as, when you said there was part of you that felt emotional and the other part that was like, this is too much. It felt so protective
Mm.
because what would it be like to finally lower that down, lower those protections down and allow somebody in and actually have that? And then they leave or,
Well, I think it is that, and it's also more than that. It's one, yes, I don't want to be that vulnerable, and in fact, I said that very line to somebody very recently. It was so in the conversation that we had recently, I said, I was like, I just don't want to be this vulnerable. It's too
mm,
much. It's too painful. And actually, like, you came back with such a wonderful response. And I said to you there, like, apparently a good response is overwhelming as well. So that was a lot. So yeah. So yes, there's the vulnerability piece, but there's also when you value me, when you see me as important, and show me that I'm important, it highlights the relationships where I didn't get that. So it touches again with the grief of not being seen that way by my parents in different ways, old friendships, old relationships. And I guess challenges, not so much now because I feel like my identity has shifted, but I guess still at, at a deep level, challenges a deeply held idea that I'm not important. So it's like a whole, yeah, it's like, wow, I'm vulnerable. I've got something now that I might lose. It's, oh, I was valuable all along. So what on earth was going on in those relationships? But it's like a, yeah, there's lots going on. It feels like it should be straightforward, right? It feels like it should just be nice. Like, oh, I've got this wonderful friend and she's being a wonderful friend to me. And that should just be straightforward and I should just be able to take it in. But yeah, it is, yeah, so vulnerable. It's vulnerable to matter to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it is vulnerable to matter to people. Yeah. And yet, for some reason, I don't think I've connected with that vulnerability. I've just been, it's more felt vulnerable to not matter to people. Yeah. But I think that's why I've often gone above and beyond in friendships.
Hmm.
But also because in some friendships, I've wanted to, that there's times where I've gone above and beyond and without an expectation that the other person has to go above and beyond as well. Where I've had issues in friendships is where I feel like I've done a lot and I feel that they've not done much at all. Like a bit like a seesaw, I don't mind being someone who's maybe more available
Hmm.
than another person. I don't mind if the balance is a bit off. But when it feels a lot off,
Hmm.
it is where I have ended and walked away from friendships.
Hmm.
As an example, spending a lot of time creating a really thoughtful and meaningful 30th birthday present for a friend I've known since I was 5. And on my 30th, just getting a text at 1:45. I'm talking about that kind of
Mm.
difference
Yeah. Yeah.
and having to say, actually, I think you need to walk away now from this, Carly.
Yeah.
So what you were saying before in your romantic relationships, and I think the same is true in friendships, often we don't know or recognize that this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So there's a term kind of like the 3 a.m. friend. If
Mm.
you're the friend that someone could call at 3 a.m. and you would answer that call and you'll stay up and you'll hold emotional space or you'll leap out of bed and go and be there to that person. If you're the person that people seem to call to always do lifts from the airport because they just know that you're going to say yes, or you're the one that everybody comes to for emotional support and advice, and you're always there no matter what's going on in your life, like you will make sure
Mhm.
that you're there. If you're the one thinking really carefully and thoughtfully how to word certain messages sensitively to offer to help friends during difficult times, and if you're someone who have had friends not be there for you or let you down or done something hurtful and you've kind of just glossed over it, forgiven it, not mentioned it, not brought it up over and over again, if these are the types of things that you're recognizing in yourself as a person, then you may be someone who is incredibly loyal, almost loyal to a fault,
Mhm.
because it's nice to be available. It's nice to be there for people and it's nice to help people. But sometimes we just really extend that
Yeah.
in a way that is not helpful, and especially when that's not reciprocated. And as I say, we all have different needs in friendships. It's not that everything has to be balanced and equal all of the time. Or if it's not very often, or if a friend is not emotionally there for you during a difficult time, we've got to think about these things, but it's difficult. It's really difficult.
Yeah. Like the two words that I have in my head are reciprocal and transactional. So what I
Mm.
hear a lot of people saying is like, oh, I don't want it to be like transactional. I don't want it to be like I do this and I expect this back. But there is something about being reciprocal and how
Mm.
do you manage that? And yeah, like you say, people have different, I guess, responsibilities, different capacities. Certainly part of the picture of why I haven't invested a lot of time in friendships is because I have 5 children. So I don't have a lot of time to, yeah, that I'm repeatedly going back to baby phase and I'm exhausted and I've got no capacity for anything. But there is something about, yeah, there is something about reciprocal. Maybe there's something in that about gratitude that if the person with less responsibility or more capacity is doing more, that the person with less capacity and more responsibility, is clearly grateful and that
And
maybe changes.
acknowledges it.
Yeah,
Just
acknowledges it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so not an internal feeling of like, oh, that's lovely, but like yeah, an enthusiastic gratitude so that both people can feel valued in the relationship. And also it
Yeah.
might just be that where there is a mismatch of capacity, that the friendship doesn't work. Not because either person is a bad person, but just because you're looking for something that the other person can't provide. But
Mhm.
again, there's something about communicating that and being clear about, yeah. So it might be a bit like a friendship breakup of, we love each other and we can't give each other what we need. So maybe we need to, look for something elsewhere. Um,
Yeah, I think that's really important because if, for example, I am someone that does all of the organizing, and if it wasn't for me, the friendship would die out because I'm the one keeping it alive by doing all the organizing. Obviously, if that went on forever, that would not be okay. But if a friend was down on their capacity and was struggling or had a lot going on, even if it's just named and acknowledged, where someone says, "Oh, I really recognize you're doing all the organizing at the moment.
Mm.
I really appreciate that because I'm just not able to do it. And I'm grateful that we still get to see one another because you're putting in that extra effort.
Yeah.
Just the acknowledgement and recognition is
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
It's when these things aren't named or it's an expectation or when someone says, "Oh, but I'm just crap at organizing."
Mm.
Well, that might well be true, but it feels like an excuse of, "Oh, do I just accept that then?" So you're crap at it and you're not willing to work on it, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you might not be someone who's magically going to become good at organizing, but that doesn't mean that you can't try to improve upon it.
Yeah, and again, I think there's a difference between that kind of dismissive, like, oh yeah, I'm just no good at it. And look, I recognize that you're doing all of the organizing for our friendship. And I just want you to know that I know that that is a strain on you and I really appreciate it.
Mm.
And yeah, like even if they've tried to work on it and it hasn't got any better and that, they've just decided like this is how it is, a little bit I'm thinking about me and my sister. So I do most of the organizing in my relationship with my sister and I'm okay with that. And what I need from her is to consistently hear that she wants to spend time with me. If I was doing all of the organizing and I'm always the one that has to say like, "Oh, shall we meet up? Oh, shall we meet up? Oh, shall we meet up?" Like that grinds you down, doesn't it? That really
Mm.
kind of wears you down. So I don't mind being the organizer. I kind of like that I like things my way. So if I get to organize it, I get to book what hotel I want, we go to where I think, whatever. Yeah, but there's something about that. So for me, that's okay. For other people, it might not be okay. But again, there's something in the communication about. I feel like it comes back again to be like, are you important? Do you feel
Mhm.
important? So yeah, at least in the communication, are you getting that feeling of I'm important?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that is ultimately what a lot of things come down to in
Mm.
terms of whether or not you feel valued and that the friendship is important
Yeah.
to the other person. My long term close friends become family.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned, you're family and you're treated as family, and I want you to feel important to me like you are family. If that feeling isn't reciprocated, that's just not good for me.
Yeah. I think there's something really significant here about how we see friendship in society.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, yeah. And I think there's something really important about repair in relationship. And
Mhm.
I think the repair can be the make or break piece, can't it? And if you're looking for a repair and being told no, essentially, then where do you go from that? I mean, your options are end the friendship or stay in the friendship with an unhealed wound. You can't, that wound isn't going to heal without the repair.
No.
The only real option is suppression of how you feel. Try to convince yourself it didn't matter to you, but it did matter to you.
Yeah.
So,
And that comes
yeah,
back to self abandonment, like we were talking
absolutely.
about in the
Yeah.
last episode, where we touched on a bit. that
Yeah.
to then to stay without the repair would feel like a form of self-abandonment. And
Yeah.
it's not that the repair has to be the person is fully on your side and agrees with everything that you're
Mm.
saying,
Mm.
but it's being willing enough to have a conversation, try to understand each other's perspectives, and be committed to finding a way forwards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it feels for me like it's the question is, do you care about my feelings? And if the answer is no, not enough to repair, then and I'm holding that I come from a position of I'm not going to hang around somewhere that I don't feel valued. I'm not going to do that anyway. But yeah, if the answer is no, why would I stick around? Why would anybody stick around for that? But yeah, I think it raises something important as well about friendship, and particularly friendship breakups, that society just doesn't really recognize the impact of it. And yeah, I mean, I don't think we're very good with rituals, is the word that I have in my head. So I think, so when we're born, maybe not so much now, you would usually have a christening. And then, like, when you get married, you have a wedding. And like, there's these rituals for celebrations, for coming together. But we don't have the same rituals. Like, if you get divorced, or, oh, so you do if someone dies, you'll have a funeral, you have a wake. But for friendships, it's like it's not recognized. And I think that can make it worse, the right way to put it. Maybe not quite the right way to put it, but there's something there about it being unacknowledged that adds to the pain of it, that you're going through this massive thing, but that we don't have the words or the rituals to process that kind of thing, because it's a huge
Mm.
loss.
No, you're right. And I don't think friendship breakups are spoken about a lot or spoken about in the way that actually it's a loss like any other. It's huge. And
Yeah.
people, long term friendships, fall out all the time. But I don't know if it's just seen as less than or
Mm.
what. But I think it's important to talk about how so if someone separates or if someone gets divorced, people see that as a big thing and that person's going to need a lot of support. And of course, because the two of you have built a life together and it often involves a lot of complexity in between the two. And yet at the same time, people will always state your friends are the ones that matter. Your friends are always there for you. If you do separate from someone, you've got your friends.
Mm.
You make sure you invest in your friends because you don't know what will happen with a romantic relationship or what happens when your parents aren't no longer around.
Mhm.
Your friends are the family that you make for yourself.
Mm.
And yet somehow not as celebrated and not as seen as important if that breaks up or ends. It's not something I've really thought too much about, but as we're talking about it, it's like, yeah, actually this is weird.
I want to start a friendiversary trend.
Oh, friendiversary. Yeah, because I was thinking friend marriages. Is that that going to work? I'm not quite sure, but there needs to be something. And yeah, so maybe friendiversary.
Mm, yeah. Although I don't know when ours is, because I don't know when we started being friends.
Yes, we don't.
We'll have to have an honorary date,
Yeah.
a symbolic date.
Well, maybe that in itself says something that if you go on a first date with someone and you eventually get together, then you might
Yeah.
think, well, I need to clock that date. But maybe
Yeah.
we need to start doing that when we make a new friend. We're not going to
Friend.
clock this date.
Yeah.
So when we celebrate our 30th anniversary, friendiversary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, I suppose there you get into like labeling stages, don't you? That there is an official, like, oh, we're exclusive, like we're in a relationship. Whereas you don't have that with friendships, do you? It kind of gradually goes over time. So I'm thinking, like, do we count our friendship from when we first met on the Learn to Love online therapy? Do we count it when we joined the pod coaching group? Do we count it from when we met face to face? Or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I guess similarly, you decide when you're dating when you become exclusive or when you
Mm.
become boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, and boyfriend. And those terms always just sound weird to use when you're an adult.
Yeah.
But there's no recognition or decision of, we have stepped up into advanced friendship. We have stepped up into best friends. We are now BFFs.
Yeah.
But I also hear adults sometimes say best friend and then say, oh, that sounds a bit childish. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why?
Yeah. So I recently had, this is not quite the same as what you're talking about, but in my uni group of friends, I recently had somebody call me pal and then call me friend. And I'm like, oh, we're actually friends.
Yeah.
And it did feel a bit official, like, oh, yeah, we'll be friends.
We've
Yeah, that
moved
was
from
nice.
acquaintances and we're now
Yeah.
officially in the friendship
Yeah. We're in the
territory.
friend zone.
Yeah, but in a
Yeah.
good
In a
way.
good way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think for a long time, I have felt like how I feel in friendships or, really just caring for people so deeply has felt like that's wrong, like it's a weakness or that it is a bit intense. When friends jokingly say, oh, let's buy a plot of land and all build houses on it next to each other, I'm like, yes. But like, I mean it. Okay, yeah, let's actually sit down and like make that happen. Because I just think maybe I am prone to maybe romanticizing friendships and things. But in the shows that I watch, they always have a good time when they're neighbors. So why would we not do that?
Yeah. 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 I think again, I'm having that split experience of like, oh my gosh, yes, that sounds amazing. Like, let's do it. And then another part of me that is like, it's my social battery is like flashing, like, "Ah." No escape.
Yeah, but when you're really
Yeah.
good friends, you can be like, I've had enough of you now. Can you go home?
Yeah. Yeah. But so you've built that up though. I haven't built that up. I only really
Mm,
have that with my sister.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But also just because there are, like I say, I'm just going to bring it back to TV because I just think that's where my notion of friendship has really just developed
Mm.
from. But as far as I'm concerned, if you can't just waltz into each other's house without knocking, help yourself to whatever in their fridge and know everything that's going on about them, are you really even friends?
I don't do that with you. Now I'm like, oh, I'm not her friend.
Wow. In fact, you can't let yourself into my front door. So
No,
that's
I
why.
can't. I can't.
Yeah. You have to be let in. So actually,
I
if it was
do
the
get
other
the
way
trays
around,
out. I do get the trays
you
out
get the trays
unpainted.
out. Yes. Oh, the other one is when you sit on the sofa that you sit on it comfortably, not properly.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't this is maybe taking things off in a different direction, but when it comes to friendships, I often wonder how much of an impact our parents have on how we view friendships. So both my parents were quite isolated. So I think that the friendship piece just hasn't it's just not up there as a priority. I think, what was really like so you listed a loads of things there about friendship and I was like nodding along like yeah, 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 but actually that was never told to me and my experience of divorce was very different. I was pretty isolated. Yeah, the message I got is it's family. Family is everything. So then becoming this kind of nuclear family unit and everything gets invested into that. But yeah, I wondered with your parents then, or like, do they have lots of friends around? Do they socialize? Are they similar to you or?
Yeah, they both,
Yeah.
both my mum and dad, they have a lot of friends
Mm.
and a lot of friends from my mum in particular has a lot of friends still from childhood, from very young.
Mm.
And she still goes away with the mother and toddler group.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm 37 and she still goes away and sees the mother and toddler group where they all still go out together
Yeah.
when all of the kids are fully fledged
Yeah.
adults. So, yeah, so I think it has been modeled to me the importance of friendship, and they do a lot of stuff for one another.
Mm.
So, my mum and her sister and friends all have a book club. I always laugh that they really should change the name because they just eat and drink. It started off as a book club, but I don't think it even lasted. It's now called still book club. It's nothing to do with books. But religiously, for years, they have met, gone round each other's houses. In turn, that person cooks for everybody.
Mm.
And then everybody has a nice drink and a catch up and a chin wag, and then they go, and then it's the next person's turn. And that has gone on for years and years and
Mm.
years.
Mm.
I have tried to set up similar, like repeated things, and they happen a few times. And then someone forgets to organize when it's their turn, and then it just falls off, and then it never happens.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have something regular, like cute, like that kind of
Mm.
setup.
Yeah.
Um, but it involves real commitment and effort on all fronts. But one of the things that I've realized, like lately within friendships, particularly this year, that's important to me is the transactional stuff doesn't really matter to me that much. I quite like giving a gift. I'm not really that bothered if you get me one back. That to me doesn't really signify friendship. Oh, it's nice when you do. But the transactional kind of doing things for one another, obviously I care about, but it's not the part that actually feels important to me. The part that's important to me is someone's emotional presence and availability. Just
Mm.
feeling like I can rely on you to be there for me when I need you to be there for me.
Yeah.
All the practical stuff, take it or leave it, but actually it's are you are you there? Can I rely on you? And also the emotional labor in friendships, is that balanced or is that really tipped?
Mm.
Because if someone else is doing a lot of the emotional work in the friendship, if the emotional side of things or presence isn't really there, especially a lot of the emotional labor is usually unseen labor and it's not always seen. Yeah, it can just be really hard when you're the one who's always checking in. You're the one that's remembering important dates. And you're the one that's trying to emotionally show up and be available during difficult or trying times. And then that stuff's not met in reverse.
Mm.
I think that is far more impactful than someone forgetting to give you a gift when it's your birthday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it feels like it's so simple in one way. Like it's like there's nothing big being asked for, but also the small things really add up to a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who can see the nuance in things, can understand the complexity of humans, if you often just find yourself shrugging things off as, oh, that's just how they are, or oh, they just struggle
Mm.
with that stuff. Oh, it's not personal. They do care about you. But
Mm.
you can say those things, and I certainly have kind of over and over and over again. And
Mm.
sometimes that's okay. But when
Mm.
actually you're doing that all the time for a lot of things that actually do matter to you,
Mm.
I guess it's just important to recognize that it is okay if those things matter to you. It doesn't matter what
Mhm.
anybody else says or think. If those things
Yeah.
matter to you, then that's what counts.
Yeah.
And it's whether or not you have friendships that then recognize that and try to meet you where you are. Or
Mm.
maybe they don't fully understand that or need it for themselves. And they might not get it always right or they might not get it perfectly, but do they care enough to recognize, oh, okay, but that's important to you in a friendship.
Yeah.
So I'm going to think about how I might be able to do that for you because
Mhm.
that's how you feel valued in
Yeah.
friendships.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just wonder if people see friendships and relationships different. If you're married and you go to somebody and say, actually, I'm really struggling with this, and they just go, oh, well, this is just who I am and I'm not going to change. Like,
Mhm.
well, your marriage would end, right? uh,
Or you're gonna end up with a very miserable spouse. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just important that we view friendships in the same way. We can learn in our friendships, we can grow in our friendships, we can do
Mhm.
things for our friends that maybe aren't important to us, but they're important to them. So,
Yeah.
yep, I'm going to try and do that for you.
Mm.
So, I think this episode is not about not being loyal or doing nice things for your friends or sometimes stepping up and doing more than what the other person is doing. I think loyalty, deeply caring for somebody, wanting to be there for them during difficult times is a beautiful way of
Mm.
being in the world. And it's important to know that you're not too much for wanting friendship to be a certain way.
Yeah.
But it is important to not then lose ourselves within those friendships or those
Yeah.
relationships where we keep caving on the things that are important to us or pretending like they don't matter just to keep the friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. So it won't be the next episode because we've already got the next one lined up, but I really think we should push the self-abandonment episode up the listings
Yes.
for what we do. Yeah. And maybe one about making friends because I know that it's certainly something that I've struggled with. I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with that can bring a lot of shame actually if it's something that you struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll make a note of those to do
Mm.
those in the coming weeks, definitely.
Mm.
But yeah, just to bring it to a close, I think there can be so many different feelings wrapped up in what we've spoken about today. Walking away from friendships is incredibly difficult. I think that's why we probably stay in things for too long. But I think like you said earlier, it does free up space to then either invest more in other friendships or to go out into the world and try to find new ones that can match your depth and value friendship and see friendship in the same way that you do. And
Yeah.
that's something that's easier said than done, which is probably why an episode on making friends would be a good one. But I guess I just want to end on saying that your depth is not the problem.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I think if you are someone that is deep, then even if it is difficult, challenge yourself to find someone else who is deep as well. Because it's just a great thing. It's just a great thing. Yeah.
And that is what you provide to my friendship that not other people do.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling all loved up now at the end of this episode.
Yay for depth.
Yeah. If you've ever felt like you're too loyal to let go, like you've answered the phone at 3 a.m., given endless chances, replayed old friendships in your head, and struggled to stop caring about people even when they've hurt you.
Maybe that's not a sign you need to care less or harden yourself. Maybe it's a sign that you love deeply, attach deeply, and sometimes forget that your loyalty deserves somewhere safe to land to.
Next time, we're diving into too many tabs open in my brain for the people whose thoughts never seem to fully switch off, whose brains jump between ideas, worries, reminders, songs, existential crises, and what they forgot to reply to 3 weeks ago, all before breakfast.
Before we go, we'd love you to come and join our Substack community, Too Much Apparently. It's a little community space for fellow Muchlings where we share journal prompts for every episode, host community chats, and share early updates on new episodes and live events. If you'd like to stay connected between episodes, just search Too Much Apparently on Substack or click the link in the show notes.
And if this episode made you feel a bit less alone, subscribe, rate the podcast, and follow at Too Much Apparently on Instagram and TikTok. Those small clicks help other sensitive humans find us.
But for now, we'll leave you with this. What would change in your relationships if you stopped measuring love by how much pain you're willing to tolerate and started measuring it by how safe, mutual, and seen you feel instead?